All right, we're going. We getting ready. What's up? What's going on, fellas? So, like I said, if y'all see me messing with my glasses, I can't see, man. I'm getting old. I don't have my progressives on, so I have to. I can see close up without my glasses, but if I'm looking at one of the cameras, I have to put them back on. So I'm all over the place today, man. I'm falling apart, man. Completely
How
falling
long you
apart.
worn glasses, JC? How old
Funny
were you when you
story
first started?
about that, man. I was in the I was in the 8th grade. But here's the
Oh,
funny thing. I had 20/20 vision when I got the glasses. This was in Big Worm will remember this. This was the used to men era when they used to wear their glasses and the vests and everything. So I pretended that I needed glasses and I didn't. So I was wearing them and it messed my vision up. So I really didn't need glasses and I was wearing them and it put me in the state that I'm in right now.
so did you start wearing glasses to make
Yeah.
yourself look
So
smarter,
now
or
oh no, I was already smart. I was
Yeah.
trying to look cool. It was called the Poindexter era. If anybody Google that, Google the Poindexter era. It was like with the glasses, the vest, the shoe. There was a certain shoe. You had the cardigan vest, things like that. So yeah, that's
Well,
why I did it.
uh, well, at least you didn't use a
Yeah,
prescription
man.
from 20
But
years ago and take it to the glass places and tell them to fill it for you.
oh, come on, Billy? He's talking about me.
nah,
And it wasn't 20 years ago. It was three
I,
years ago.
I,
I didn't start wearing glasses till I was
all right, but
45.
it's time to get to work now. It's time. What was that like 20 years ago, Kevin? Like, all right,
No.
welcome everybody. It's time to get to work. We had to catch up, everybody. I know y'all. It's all been we haven't. If you haven't noticed, we talked about this in my episode 1, and I talked about my family who gave me the start on the platform. It's a Tennessee Road volunteer road show reunion today. I had to have them on soon, and no better time than now to talk about it. But I won't even talk too much first. I want to in just going back to what we used to do on the show when I would come on as a guest. Catfish Bobby would always do the intro, so I'm gonna be quiet today. Let him since he's here. I'm gonna put him to work. I put everybody to work when they show up, so I'm gonna just sit back and let Catfish do the intro today.
What's going on, YouTube's, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and I don't know, Snapchat? What all are you on there, JC? And JC TV
All the
and
platforms, all the
and
platforms for everybody.
Volunteer Land,
JCTV, yes sir. For the
Vol Nation. Hey, these two guys done more for me than anybody ever. I wouldn't have done nearly nothing, scratch the surface of what I've been able to do in media without Big Worm, Billy Ratliff, JC, Ron Slay, Deuce, Al Wilkes, all of them that welcomed me into the VFL land, and I appreciate it. And I'm so glad to be back on here with you. It's giving me the itch to get back on the radio and TV and YouTube's. But welcome to JCTV. So what's going on,
thank you for that.
JC?
I appreciate the intro. Yeah, sitting here reminiscing. This brought back some nostalgia. So no, we I wanted to. I really want to. Haven't talked about Tennessee football exclusively in a minute. Haven't really dove into a lot of college football in a minute because we had some other conversations, other focus. So when we did have it ready, I needed to have you guys here with me to talk about it. And this was a perfect weekend to do it and to do this conversation together because it was Tennessee Arkansas weekend, and we can't talk Tennessee Arkansas football because if you say that to anybody that knows the play, Billy Rattler, 1998 comes up. So, and good. I was fortunate to be up close and personal. I got to see it, got to live it. I know the backstory with it. We know everything that happened with it. And Billy being here, I know he has talked about that as well. He should. I know people have to want to talk about that. You have to want to know the the stories about it. So, but because I know all that stuff that he talks about, I want to talk about it from a different angle. Um, I want to know because we're what 27. It was a long time ago. So we're long time removed from that. Like you can't think about that game without thinking about that play. And I know, Billy, I want you to tell me just all these years later, what does it do for you, and how is it living that all these years later? Now, again, not so much the play, but the impact of the play.
It took me a long time to realize how really big that play was, man. I didn't think of it being a destiny or whatever. It happened for a reason. Um, but when you think about it now, well, me personally, it was big, but because if it didn't happen, there's no championship. Um, but when people ask me about the play, it's easy to talk about it because I mean, I lived it, I've done it, and I understand it. But how I am, JC. It was just another play for me. I was just doing my job. And when people tell me to talk about it, it's like I have to say something different every time I tell the story because I think of something different every single time. Going up into it, Al talking to us and trying to get us up, cursing us out at the same time because we're losing to Arkansas. Um, it amazed me when I remember the fact that I wasn't even supposed to go in the game, man. It wasn't my rotating time. It was something about us, we rotated all the time and I said, man, it wasn't even my time. And then I remember when you remind me of that, I'm like, God, you're right, because I don't know, what you get hurt or did you cramp up, JC?
So, but we had that trust with each other. Like, no, coach didn't have to rotate us. Like he would just let us go, and we knew we would look at each other. And I knew if I was out there getting tired, dogging it, getting handled, whatever the case may be, it's like, all right, come on, let's change it up a little bit, and vice versa. So, and nobody was selfish. Nobody cared who was out there playing. It was just like we're trying to get the job done. And yeah, that was the cramp week. I had to get 2 IVs that night, and I remember you talking about Burlsworth, and I tell anybody he was just you know, God rest his soul. He was on a mission that day, that night, and we really couldn't do anything with him, couldn't handle him. And he was having a game. He was having one of those games, and even at full strength, it was like, all right, that would have been a task. But me just cramping up and not being able to go, yeah. And I was supposed to be out there at that moment, and I was like, I can't do this right now. And that's not. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back for being hurt and saying knowing I needed to get out. It's like you got to get out of here. You're not able to help your team the way you need to help it, and we need somebody to do something right now. And just having the self awareness to know that I can't give it right now, but there's somebody over there that can. We got. There's a couple of us over here. Even whoever's in the game, there's a couple of us over there that can get it done. So get out the way and just let somebody handle it, and that rest is history.
Let me give a
So,
fan's perspective of that.
but
Just a
like I
minute.
said, I want to.
The fan's perspective is, and during that time, JC, I wasn't on the sideline, but I was watching it. During that era, there were so many DTs that y'all were rotating, rotating, rotating. Y'all were deep back in them days where you were 2, 3, 4, 5 deep that can come in and fill in. That's what I saw. And I don't know that we've been like that in a long, long time, that as deep as what y'all were in that era.
Well,
Well,
over the year, you're right. We because we had me and Darwin, then you had Ron and a big worm, Fred Weary, who ended up being an NFL offensive lineman, was our fifth tackle. But we had ends, and that's how I ended up being a tackle. Well, me and Worm both ended up being tackles. When we were playing defensive end, we could slide in and play tackle. You see a lot of that now with the team we have. I think they're deep. Well, they're as deep or deeper than what we had during that time, and that's when you know you're good if you can rotate and you don't lose anything, and you can just keep rolling with people in waves. And then over the years, whenever you've seen we've been good, you'll see if you go look at that team, you'll find those same traits. Is that they have good depth and you can rotate, keep people fresh, and not lose anything. Would you say? What do you think about that, Worm? Would you say you agree with that?
I agree with you, man. I mean, we had so many guys, man. I mean, the way Coach Brooks did things with us, man, he allowed us to have fun with it, and of course, you had some guys that didn't want to come out, but they when they got tired or whatever, they came out. And I'm not gonna say the name because that's my dude. But Jeff, you know who I'm talking about.
I know.
There's a couple, man. So
And
'98,
but
there was not to take a shot at anybody, any of because all those teams we played on were great, but there was so much more cohesion in '98, which was one of the differences of the team. We didn't like nobody was trying to, make draft position, all the stuff that comes with that. We just wanted to win. So
yeah, and you're right, man. I mean, so I'm going to get back to Brandon Burnsworth, man, because I have to talk about the guy because this guy was a technician, man. And I tell everybody this, JC, because doing scouting and scout report that Monday when they was telling us who the guy was, and of course, they had it on the board, all the guys, the offensive lineman, backup, and they had him saying he was all American. But
yeah,
the way we were back then, we didn't care who they were, though, man. It was like if it wasn't Florida, everybody else was just a stat.
play against all of them. Yeah,
We're trying to get our tackles for loss, sacks, or whatever, and get off the field. But I remember, man, I had zero stats that whole game up until those two plays I made. Zero, man. I mean, I didn't have a tackle for loss. I didn't have a PBU. I didn't have a pass. Nothing. I had zero. And I was used to having, at least two tackles for loss or something, man. Well, I can get up and, showboat, do my little guns on the ground or something. I didn't do anything, man. I mean, I'm talking about this guy was strong as an ox, man. And we had this every day in practice. So for us to see this in the game, and what made it even worse, the fact that everybody talked so much mess to this man. Al was on him. Big Cat was on him. Knott was on him. Everybody talking noise to him, but the guys that was in front of him.
the guys that were in front of him. I'm like, y'all leave this man alone. Y'all quit talking to him because
Yes.
him and Randy Thomas, and we'll talk about Randy Thomas in Mississippi State another time. But Burlsworth was, and I called him like a silent assassin because he didn't say much of anything. He would just look at you and he would just block you all game. I had some stats that game, but it was some of the hardest I had to work to get him and to just feel like this guy, because I know one time he sealed me off, and you know how you trying to get off somebody and get around and get your angle back, and it's a little demoralizing when you try you can't get like I just can't get off of him, and I don't know what you can see it on film. I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was that good until I played because technician, he was real competitive. He just had everything that if I would want him as a teammate, somebody that would play like that. And like I said, he just look at you. He wouldn't even say anything. I was like, man, come on, do so like say something to get me right. Like give me something, like do something. He's just like just sitting there blocking you and just being quiet, looking at you. It's like goodness gracious. But yeah, shout out.
Man. Yeah,
Don't forget,
that
don't
was
forget,
the scary part.
he was a walk-on too, and to be an All-American, that's
Yeah,
pretty rare.
that is rare, and I'm glad you brought that point up. He was well, I don't know how, and maybe he came from a small school, and I know he put in. Like, I think he put on some weight, grew like as a prospect. I'm sure he wasn't, close to what he ended up becoming, and that was through a bunch of hard work and just putting in the time, growing, getting into that system, and you love seeing stories like that. You see a lot of the guys they come in fives or fours, and then they go the other way. But to see that kind of story, I don't care who he plays for, a team that we're playing against, you have to appreciate somebody that, was overlooked, did it the hard way, took the long road to get to where he, ended up getting to, and just, it's not easy to do. I watch how much the walk-ons practice and how hard to be able to rise above that situation. You have to be exceptional. So yeah, that's a great story, man.
I
Yeah.
know the
Well,
conversations I've
Arkansas.
had with
So Arkansas.
I know the conversations I've had with Deuce about, talking about walk-ons. And one thing I appreciate about Fred, for the viewers that don't know, Fred White, Deuce, um, he didn't like delineating between walk-ons and scholarship players. They were all part of the squad. And I really liked that when I heard
We didn't.
Fred
Yeah.
tell me that.
Yep. And we were protective of, because if somebody was there's a couple things I don't like. Like I can tell you, you can tell a lot about a person. Like if you go somewhere and you're eating out, and the way somebody treats, like, service, the waitress or somebody, the way people treat people that they perceive that's not on their level, and that's the first mistake. You assume that somebody is not on the level of you. If it was one of the scholarship players treating the walk-ons a certain way, the coach didn't have to say anything. The other players were like, man, you don't do that. Because for one, I had a respect for, because Deuce did too. 'Cause Deuce was on this, like, you red shirt, you're on the scout team. So a lot of times it's the red shirt scout team and the walk-ons, that's who makes that up. So you and even if I didn't have that shared experience with them, I still wouldn't like you treating our teammates, because you can't get through a season and do what you do and practice the way you need to practice without them. They're essential to the team and the program. So there's no reason, there's no cause, there's no justification for treating them a certain way. And yeah, that's one of the things that there. I agree with Deuce. I don't, make the separation of, oh, he's walk on, he's scholarship. You can't get through a whole season and do what you need to do without him. So that's a great point by Deuce.
Well, and I add on to that because, majority of these walk-ons could have went to D1 programs and started somewhere, and they chose to come to, some
Yeah.
of these schools and give us a look the way they do. I have to applaud them. And I mean, they did that. I don't know if I could have did it, but, especially have to pay for their own school and stuff and take that beating day after day after day. And I would say we had some walk-ons that will, give us the business every day. And, and I appreciate that look. And I go back and I think about it, I'm like, man, how did they do that, man? I mean, that was a lot of pressure, all the stuff that we went through, for football, the school and everything. And that's a whole nother story I would love to talk about, because God, I think about it to this day. How do we do all that stuff, man? How do we do that, man? Like, that's just, I say that because it's a full-time job. You got school, it's the time, man, like the discipline. That's just crazy, man.
Don't give him
Well,
too
I want
much,
to know
man.
how
They
much
just
time. How did you have
you're
time for Techno Bowl? I want to know where you had time for Techno Bowl. You said you played in the dorms all the time, and you were supposed to be the best, Billy.
Hey, now I had a different schedule now. See, it was two different schedules. We had the PG schedule and the rated R schedule. I had a PG schedule. I got to play a
That's right.
lot when I was hurt. So if I didn't play football, I go play with the basketball team.
All right. So good. So we can sit in room, and I'll talk about that all the time. So now that I have you here today, already. So that's my excuse to drag you back to talk, because we have to talk about Tecmo Bowl. We have to talk about Worm's topic about just the life of a student athlete. So I've already signed you up for 2 more appearances. I'm working. I'll get at least 3, 4, 5 more out of you guys before it's over with. So we'll get our nostalgia fix later on. So now I want to talk about yesterday. Let's talk about current balls. We'll be here all day talking about our old times. So let's talk about current Vols yesterday. What did you guys think about the game yesterday?
Oh man, I'll be honest with you. It was exactly the way I thought it would be, especially with, Arkansas with the new coaches, Petrino coming in. I mean, gonna change the whole game plan up with, what Arkansas has been all season. When you have a team like that, it's tough for the offense and defensive coaches because you don't know what they're gonna do. All you know is the kids that are playing and trying to stop that guy from doing what he do. But when you have coaches come in and give kids that type of confidence that they're not used to getting, maybe, and make them feel a certain type of way, sometimes you got a totally different team that's going to come in and work you a little bit harder. But I was hoping that we were going to dominate the game, win by, 20 points, but I knew that wasn't going to happen because of the coaching change. And JC, we played a lot of teams like that where we didn't know what they was going to do, whether it would be a UAB or anybody team, and they come in and do some option or this here and that there. We it's tough because you don't know the blocking scheme. We're used to studying guys, pulling a certain way, blocking a certain way. And when you got a team coming in like that, unexpected, knowing what they're going to do, it's almost like you're going through spring training and going through the motions. And that's what I saw yesterday. We were going through the motions and just trying to get through this game and get that win and be over with because we have a big game coming up this weekend.
You made two great points there that I want to touch on. The big thing is the coaching change, and that's so we're going to talk about my my online relationship with our fan base, because one thing I saw and I was going to gauge and get a feel for, kind of knew what it was going to be, but just wanted to make sure that what I felt about talking about the defense and how we came out and play. It didn't, like, let's be clear, let's start off. It did not look good, but you gave, and that's the reasoning. That's the same reasoning I gave yesterday. It's like you have a new coach, a really good coach. Forget his personal issues, but a really good offensive mind, a good tactician. He was giving us things that we had not seen on film. We knew, I think the coaches knew, if you wanted to go back and look at some of old Petrino's old film, that might help you, or it could just be no good at all. That we didn't know what kind of game plan they were going to get or what to prepare for. So you can say that, you still, it's blocking, tackling, one on one, you still have to play. But a lot of that was scheme. You would see 9 people doing what they were supposed to do, and then 2 people unsure, then a play pop. So that point about it being a new coach, you could see. And what I really wanted to see, I wasn't surprised about the first half. What I wanted to see in the second half was like, all right, we saw a little bit. How are we going to adjust? For a quarter and a half, we adjusted very well. Now, and then they did some things in the fourth quarter. I'll attribute some of that to playing a little bit passively, that we, gave up some yards, gave up that last score. But I did see the adjustments in the third quarter. That was important for me. Yeah, and like you said, the UAB thing, because like when we played them, that was one of those things. They came out with this wide gaps you're not prepared for. Somebody can scheme you into, you know, being successful certain things and just throw you off kilter. And I think we saw some of that yesterday. But we did adjust and we did get the win. And again, let me ask Catfish. So from you've heard from the 2 players' perspectives, what did you see as a fan? What did that look like to you yesterday?
Well, like I said, I don't see the game the same way y'all see it because y'all know it more in depth than I did. I felt like it was a little. There were times when we were flowing real well, and then we'd follow it up with some disjointed play. I was coming back from Missouri, and I was listening to Ramon Foster and Mike Keith, so I can't really get the vibe. I never got to watch it. I went back and watched some of the plays, but just hearing, and y'all know Ramon, he has a good perspective. I really like him. And he was going on about the offensive line, defensive line, and trenches, and that type of play. But it felt like we got some lucky breaks. I don't know. I can't. I won't say lucky break. We got some turnovers that really turned into some points, and it kind of got out of hand there for a minute. And the point differential was greater than what I thought the differential in the 2 teams were. I thought they were pretty closely matched, and you know, it could have turned out very easily different than what it did. That's the impression I got at the end. It could have gone without a couple of turnovers. We might have lost the game. You don't know, but
You
I think,
absolutely, I agree with that.
yeah. So I'm excited to see how we're going to do next week with Alabama. Are we going to be able to put a full game together? And I don't think we put a full game together really this season yet, except for some of the cupcake games maybe. But I don't know. It just seemed a little bit disjointed where we'd do so well a couple of drives and then we'd go 3 and out, you know. So, and I'm sure there's some adjustments on Arkansas side causing some of that, but anyway, I think Arion Foster's name was called an awful lot on that radio, and Joseph, a couple of them defenders, they really balled out. Now I'll go back to Aguilar. I know he's getting a lot of credit because there was a lot of unknowns about him coming into the season. He really hasn't played anywhere, all that, and I know I was wondering what was he going to turn out, and then he came out like gangbusters the first few games. But I'm not so sure that that the credit is 100% warranted, because I've seen a lot of underthrown passes that Brazel was able to corral in that maybe not shouldn't have been caught. That he that's an 80-yard touchdown right there that our receivers have bailed him out a lot. But that was early in the season. I haven't really got to watch a full game the last 2 weeks, so that's really up to you experts on what you think. But I don't know. Maybe I was thinking the worst of now that he's better than what I thought. Maybe that's why I'm looking at it that way. But I do think that he has some underthrown balls that the receivers have bailed him out on.
Well, yes, and I can't disagree with that. But there's also, if you look at his drop passes and the amount of times the ball has hit someone's hand, even if you look at his I think he has 5 interceptions, however many interceptions he's had. I think all of them, with the exception of the one Georgia play where a receiver fell down and the DB was right there, picked it off. I think every one of those interceptions were tip passes that potentially could have been caught.
Yeah.
And he's had a lot of drop passes or like passes that have hit receivers' hands that were incompletion. So those are kind of a wash for me. He's not, yeah, he early in the season he was throwing it a little high. Then he started throwing it a little low. But for me, those things are offset by his competitiveness.
Yeah, I
And
agree
what
with
he
that.
brings to the table, his even keel nature. He everybody looking, you can tell like a great quarterback, a great leader, like everybody looks at him. You can tell how everybody gravitates to him, and he's a leader. Everybody looks to him to do, whenever things get unsettled, he rights the ship. Things he does as far as that, like you can fix those things. You can coach those things.
Yeah.
I think he has certain intangibles that you can. I'm pleased. I think he's exceeded any expectations that I know I have for him and that anybody else would have for him as well. And what do you
And
think about that?
I agree with you there because I'm a little bit different when it comes to that, the quarterbacks, receivers, because being a coach and seeing it and knowing what the progressions and all the things they go through. Now, I've talked to so many quarterbacks that I played with or played against, or so many wide receivers that I played against or played with, and they all say this one thing. Quarterbacks going to have bad games. They're going to have bad throws or underthrows, overthrows. And the one thing that most of the receivers that I talk to, they say, if it's anywhere within 5 yards of me, I got to go get it. Whether I have to adjust to it, to go run up under it and get it. That's the thing of being a great receiver, and that's what I tell everybody about our offense. Our offense is designed for wide receivers. We can put just about any type of quarterback in this position and learn how to do everything and use his progressions through the game. But if you don't have receivers in this offense to run down the field, get off the line of scrimmage, it's not going to work. And if you ever notice the times that our offenses have struggled, it's because our wide receivers are not getting off the line of scrimmage, or they're dropping balls, or they're not adjusting to it. And that's the part that fans, they don't understand when it comes to that situation. They only see the bad part where it's the incomplete or the interception or the overthrow, the underthrow. And the one part they don't understand with quarterback, when they do that certain things, it is not a turnover. We got another chance to get another play next time. Because that's the way this offense is designed, is not to turn the ball over. And if you notice, most of our quarterbacks that we have had in the past, we notice it's overthrow. I mean, they're putting it where only our guy can get it. And that's what you want when you have a quarterback. Don't turn the ball over. And I'll take that any day. We've had so many quarterbacks at Tennessee. Well, not so many, but some of the guys that we've had that talk so bad about, and they like the Joe Milton, they gave him really bad. I'm like, guys, if you got to understand the receivers he had, man, he had a bad break, man. I mean, the kid, he's a good quarterback, and then with Nico right now, when he left, everybody was like, "Oh, we in trouble." I'm like, "Guys, y'all just don't understand, man. We're gonna plug and play, and we're gonna get the job done. If our receivers do what we need to do, this season could be magical."
I've got a
Do
question.
you agree? And I'm
I've got a
hold on,
question.
hold on,
How
Catfish. Hold on. Before you get hold that question for 1 second.
All right, I'll hold it.
Because you just I want to take a little side road real quick, but because what you just mentioned, Nico. So I'm gonna take a couple minutes. We don't have to stay on this topic for a long time, but you just mentioned like the criticism of some of our quarterbacks, former quarterbacks, or whatever it may be. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, Catfish. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we have to talk about Nico and the fan base treatment, reaction, whatever you want to call it, of the Nico situation. And this is I've interacted with a lot of fans online because I don't. And this was with the weeks leading up to him. When UCLA upset Penn State, every week we would get the what about Nico report about how Nico is doing and how poorly he played in the weeks leading up to it. And this is all the while Joey Aguilar, our quarterback, was playing well. We're winning games, and we're spending time and energy talking about a quarterback that's not on our team, quarterback that when he was with us, we loved him and everybody supported him. We parted ways. I know the way it happened, everybody doesn't love it. Could have happened either not at all or better. Get that. But at a certain point, a certain time, you have to let it go. And if you're going to put that energy out when he is playing poorly, I want you to say something when he starts winning games and plays better. This is just perplexing to me. And what really gets into it is that like high school kids, like prospects, watch the way you treat your current players, former players, and things of that nature. That has an impact. We have a reputation as a fan base for doing some things like that, for being toxic to a certain degree. Coach Banks got fired 1,000 times yesterday in the first quarter as things were going on. I get it. It's a fanatics fan base. You can have your opinion. I get it, but have a certain can be a little rational about some situations. And again, you don't have to touch this, either one of you, if you don't want to. Worm, I know you live in the city, you live in Knoxville. If you just want to say thank you, tell JC that's it. Good. I hear your point. We can move on. And I know Catfish has a topic, but if you would like to add to that, you can go ahead, or we can get back on the road and finish the conversation.
I think
got that
it's
off.
really, 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 really simple. It's I've never seen anybody go from so great in the off season to hot garbage before the season starts. It's like your old girlfriend. When she dumps you, you're gonna start talking bad about her, right? But as long as you're going with her, she's the prettiest thing in the world. She's got a nice butt. Look at that thing walk. And when she dumps you, she's garbage. That's what it turns out to be. We got the best fans and the worst fans in the country, all in one fan base, period.
Oh
I
man.
can't
That's it.
disagree with that.
Well, you know me, man. I'm always gonna be like that, man. I mean, I'm gonna love the kids, whether they're here or they go, because they was a VFL at one point, man. And you got to understand his side of the story. You know, I just wish that the world would like stop worrying about how much money the kids got or whatever the pockets or anything like that, because that's the part that people even worry about. Because I don't think they would even care as much if he didn't make that kind of money. And
That's
when he transferred for himself to make himself better, do something to help himself, whether it was him going to a better offense or whether him going home to be closer to his family. And I don't know. I mean, we can say what all it was or whatever, but Jeff, we know what it is. I'm not gonna put his business out there like that, but
I,
I'm just
okay,
saying
I'm
from
gonna
a
defend him.
player perspective, as if JC back in the day, if you had the chance to go back home and play for Clemson or whoever, whatever, I know you would, but I'm just saying in the NIL days, ain't none of us would have been on Tennessee team like that because
No, we wouldn't have left. They wouldn't have gotten out of the state. You wouldn't have left. Mississippi State or Ole Miss would have gotten you. Clemson
exactly
or South
that's
Carolina.
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. But with
Yeah.
Nico's situation, man, I mean, it was a business plan. Whoever gave him advice, I'm gonna be honest. Yes, they gave him bad advice. They did because the
I don't
amount of
know
money the
about
kid was
that.
making
Hold up.
at Tennessee,
I
that
don't know
is,
about
you don't
that.
transfer making that kind of money playing quarterback in college football. But
What's the?
and
But
Catfish said it
Fish
right
has
perfectly.
a.
We have the best, worst fans ever because that's what they do,
I want to hear what he
man.
has to say. What
I don't think it was bad advice. You just got Carson Beck
don't
went to Miami and got a humongous pay raise. If my son was quarterback at Tennessee and I seen Carson Beck, who was mediocre, go get $4 million a year, man, it's supply and demand. The market said Carson Beck's worth $4 million a year. I want my son to get $4 million a year. So I didn't think it was a bad business decision to go to Tennessee and say, hey, I want more money. Now, was he worth it? That's a different topic.
And
But
that's what it is now today. I mean, it's a true business now. College football is not the way it was when me and Jeff played. I mean, we had to be happy with what $30 after the game. We had to be happy with $4.99 a month. We had to be happy in the summer with $5.99 a month. And that's what we got when I was at Tennessee.
So,
And
I hear your
the thing
point,
is,
Catfish.
we just knew how to make ends meet. That's what made us so much stronger as brothers as we are now. And how we adapt today.
That is true.
But if I
But
had that kind
I
of
want to
money,
get. I want to get.
brother.
Hold on. Catfish's point though. I don't mind. I have no issues with him asking for more money. I have issues with how and when he asked for more money. And when
okay,
Worm said it was
fair.
a bad business move, part of business is knowing when and how to negotiate what you think you're worth. And that the way he went about doing it and the reaction to it was poorly executed. I'll tell anybody, him asking for more money is not a problem. Him asking for market value is not a problem. Now, you do have to have a certain level of self-awareness. Also, when you do that, I think they lacked a little bit of that. Compared him to a mediocre Carson Beck, a lot of people will say Nico was mediocre. If you look at his stats, if you look at his stats and they don't jump off the page, but you also have to look at Carson Beck wasn't getting $2 million in high school in his first 2 years. So Carson Beck didn't make $2.5 million his first 3 years. So Carson Beck is going back to get some of that money he thought he was worth. So Nico didn't take into account that I was overpaid for three years. And now, and everybody knows you were overpaid. So now you want to go ask for more money, which again, I don't mind you asking for more money, but you have to factor all those things into your decision making. I think he could have gotten a raise if he had asked and had these conversations not go public, and to make it seem like you've backed someone in a corner, like you twisted an arm, like I'm gonna sit out, all while you're not lighting up the world. You're playing well. I'm a defender of Nico. I started this off by defending Nico, but everything is relative and there's levels to everything. You didn't just go out there and light up the world and say, did you come back? And I think a lot of it had to do with he knows the kid that's coming in this year. He was trying to get a big payday and try to leave or go before this new quarterback comes in that we have coming in. I think there was a lot of factors in it. I think they overplayed their hand, overreacted, and didn't go about it the right way. Don't mind them asking, don't mind them thinking that, but there's a way to do it.
And I have to say, my mind has changed a lot on players getting paid. I used to be from the old school. You shouldn't get paid anything. You're getting an education. That's worth a lot of money. That's where I come from. But I'm 180 degrees different on now. Talking to Deuce, we brought up Deuce earlier. I got to talk to him. He said there was nothing free. Man, he gave up his body, his mind, and all that a lot of players will have to suffer with for the rest of their life for a free education. So
Yeah,
I now I don't
and
have a
it's
problem with them getting paid at all. I think they should get paid
yeah.
because they are giving their all, their real all for Tennessee.
So you just brought that's one of the I'm gonna have a episode dedicated just to NIL transfer portal. And I want you to come back for that too, just to give your perspective and the evolution of your thought on that, because and I won't spend a lot of time on it today. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing free about that education. There's nothing when you have somebody making that kind of money off of what you do, even if you didn't sacrifice your body and everything else, if you're the main product for in a multi-billion dollar business, I need someone to give me a halfway decent explanation as to why you shouldn't get paid. You shouldn't even have to convince a person that you should get paid. Somebody would have to tell me a good reason why you would not pay your product. Because if you don't have that product, your multi-billion dollars are they don't exist. So
Yeah. That is a good topic for another
we're gonna
day.
spend a couple hours. Yeah, we're gonna spend a couple hours talking about that. But so we did the Nico thing. So go back. I want to get back, and then we got. So I took us down another road with Nico. Now, so Catfish, I want you to get back to your point, your question that you were bringing
Bro,
up. Go ahead.
I'm over 55 years old. I forgot what I was even going to talk about.
You forgot.
Yeah.
You forgot. Okay. So this may trigger. So we
I didn't have
we
a
talked
pen.
about some Arkansas topics, and we have
Oh,
let's talk about
I
Alabama
remember.
next week, and
I
then we'll talk
remember.
about state of college.
I remember what it was. How much do you think the quarterback position has changed from your day in the 90s to now? Has it gotten easier for quarterbacks or more colleges? I'm talking about Power Four teams. Are they more quarterback friendly now? Do you have to be, you don't have to be as smart as you used to be? I don't know. From a player's perspective, what's the difference between the quarterback position then and now besides the athleticism? I'm talking about scheme
Go ahead,
and
Billy.
difficulty and the cerebral part.
Go ahead, Billy. You
I'm
can
going to
start.
say it's a whole lot different now. I mean, I'm not going to say it's harder. I think it's a lot easier now because a lot of things are now a lot quicker now. You know, it's not the way, you know, it used to be where the quarterback goes up under the center, reads the defense themselves instead of look to the sideline to find out where the gaps at or what play we're going to do versus what we see out there right now. Um, it was like that a little bit back in the day, but now it's changed so much where you don't hear the, you know, you see Peyton Manning up there saying red fire, black 90, all that stuff, and check this, check that, check that, check that. You know, you don't see a lot of that in today's QB time. And that's the problem that you see now when you got, you know, guys that go into the NFL now. It's totally different because now they got to try to learn this terminology and stuff. And it's not as easy versus how, you know, Peyton them used to do it when they go in and try to do it. Because now everything is just it's a true strip now. So I would say playing the quarterback position today is easier.
Well, I had watched a thing on ESPN where a coach or somebody was talking about an NFL coach talking about how much easier the quarterback position has gotten, and he blames it on the portal. He says back in the day you had, you know, Peyton 4 years under one system. Now you've got a quarterback that might be at UCLA 1 year. He transfers to Washington State, then Clemson, and he's got all this different stuff that he hadn't had time to mature in the quarterback position. So they've really had to, he didn't use the words dumb it down, but make it simpler for these guys coming out of the draft now that been in three different systems in 4 years.
And then one more thing I want to add to it. I mean, and it's more
Surprise,
now.
surprise. I
It's
disagree.
it's it's a little bit more entitled now because a quarterback today is guaranteed their job tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because backups is the best position to be as a quarterback in today's game. Because 95% of the time, you're not going to ever play a down as a backup. I should have been a quarterback. I wish I can go back in time and spit myself back out and I'll be a quarterback today.
So so with your original point were about whether the game, I know it is different, and I think there are, and I disagree with whatever that scout or whoever said that, Catfish. I'm gonna talk about that too. About the game is different. They have to. There's some things I think that are it's easier for a quarterback right now, and there's some things I think are even potentially a little bit harder, because the harder part. I start with the harder part is that s- to the point of having to learn some of the, like, learning the offenses are, they do a lot, especially with the offense like ours. And talk about Joey, he came into from a different system, and they didn't dumb that down for him. He runs
Yeah.
our offense. He came in the spring and had to learn it, and that's not something. And he came from the portal, and he had to learn that. Now, the part of that that's easier, they've taken, and this is to your point, Worm, they've taken the audible and you having to read a defense out of the game for the most part. They've taken all the reads out of the game. It's predetermined where you go to. And if it's like there's triggers pre-snap or once the ball snap, I'm going here, 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 or here. It's not reading multiple. I'm not saying that they don't read any. That's, you still have to do that. But it's much less of a needed skill set than it used to be. Much of it is predetermined as to where you go with the ball. And audibles are just like, because I think so many of these coaches are offensive gurus. They don't want anybody else calling the play. They certainly don't want the quarterback changing their play. When do you see a quarterback go to the line, make a read, and change what their coach called, or this the look at me, or you get to the line and you look over and all these signs over there telling you what to run? So that's the part that's way, way different. You had quarterbacks like Peyton, and any quarterback from that era had the opportunity to, if I see something that I think works better than what you just called, I can change that. That does not exist anymore. Um, I think what they ask the quarterback to do now, like, this is where I think it's harder to play, because look at the skill set of the quarterbacks. Now you have to be a drop back passer, but you also have to be able to run. Most of the really good quarterbacks have some level. They're not statues back there. I can't think of a quarterback that's come out in the last couple years that's successful. All the young guys, not that they're running all the time, but look at Drake May, look at Burrow, look at some of these other quarterbacks, and look at all of them can run some sort of RPO, or they can move when they get pressured. So that's a little bit different than before. They were looking for the statue. So I think the game has just evolved and changed. There's some things that are easier, some things that it just looks different than what it used to look. And that's just, the game always does that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that Peyton would be a first overall pick in today's NFL. I'm not saying he wouldn't be good, but he doesn't have the wheels that everybody wants now.
What?
Did I stutter?
Bruh. You talking about a man that had his mouth wired shit, Bobby.
That's true.
That don't happen today.
But they want these RPOs and dual threat quarterbacks. Peyton couldn't run out of his own way.
He wouldn't have to.
Okay, y'all the players.
You have
I'm not. I'm
certainly,
just a fan.
he's on the short list of elite. He's the elite of the elite that could do it.
That's it.
That's like, but that everybody else has to be multifaceted.
I didn't
There's
say
just a
he
few
wasn't going to be
people.
elite.
And I'm not just saying it because that was my quarterback. It's just I know how he studies the game, man. I mean, those are the type of quarterbacks that adapt to the situation. When you're good, you're good.
He stole Christmas.
And that's what any great player, though, man. I mean, imagine Michael Irvin in today's offenses. Imagine not knowing that you're not going to get your head knocked off. Imagine today a Michael Vick. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, man! If you know you're not going to get hit, Dante Culpepper. Oh my gosh! There's so many quarterbacks that I can think of if they played in today's time would be elite Hall of Famers.
Yeah, but that's a great question. That is a great question, and to ponder. Just looking at the way the game has evolved is always an interesting topic to see how certain players would work in different eras. I do sit around and think and talk about that a lot. So yeah, great question. So what I do want to talk as we start to wrap up, I just want to look at the top 25. Let's look at the landscape of college football right now. Who do you think are some contenders? Who do you think are some pretenders? Some people that have opportunity to work themselves into a potential playoff. What are you seeing out there right now? I know Penn State is. I know where they fall on that list. But tell me, what do you see on the college football landscape right now?
2 surprises. Texas and Indiana for different reasons. I thought Texas was going to be there until the end, and they petered out. And I had Indiana nowhere near on my radar for the playoffs. Those are my 2 big takeaways. Oregon surprised me. I thought they was going to beat Indiana, but man, Indiana's a good, well coached team. Those are my 2 big surprises.
Indiana was in the playoffs. Why did Indiana surprise you? They're in the playoffs last year.
I didn't think that Indiana was going to be as good as they are, and I certainly didn't think they were going to beat Oregon. And I thought Florida was going to be better than they were. I was high on DJ Lagway, extremely high on DJ Lagway, and I don't think it's DJ Lagway's fault. I think his coaches need to quit calling them plays.
I do.
I think that you look at last year and they took the reins off of DJ. He picked everybody apart. Now it's almost like they put the reins on him and he can't hit the broadside of a barn.
He threw a lot of interceptions last year, Catfish. I wasn't and I think I remember talking to you about Lagway at some point last year. I'm not a huge Lagway fan. I'm not surprised. He'll throw you the ball. He'll connect with okay, what color jersey you have on. He will throw you the ball. I like him. I don't never loved him. And I don't but you say take the reins off. They need to rein him in a little bit more, is what they need to do.
Well,
And I think they've given him too much. But Florida. I
maybe
wasn't high
so.
on Florida coming into the year. I did not. I did not like. But just that's personal too, though. I can't get behind
Yeah,
Florida. I
you
can't
got
even
some
pretend.
you got some Steve Spurrier leftover feelings there, I think.
Oh, I like Spurrier though. That's the crazy thing. I like Spurrier. I just didn't like that. I don't like that team in that school. So tell Big Worm, who do you have? Surprises, contenders. What are you seeing out there?
I mean, I'm all right with Indiana, man. That offense is electric this year, man. I mean, they are putting up numbers. They're beating people, man. I mean, it's not even they making it look so easy now. I mean, it's crazy. Another team that I tell people they got to watch out for, and I know they're in a different division, but Georgia Tech, man, these kids are playing some ball, man. I mean, it's that offense. I mean, this offense has been a run-first offense forever. Now they can do both of them now, and that's scary. That is scary for that type of offense for a defensive line. You got to be on your P's and Q's with an offense like that. You got to all the keys have to be read every single play, and that's not easy for a defense. Of course, I'm about to say, all of the Tennessee teams in the state are doing pretty good, and that surprised me. Memphis balling this year, Vandy is balling this year, and of course,
Yes.
Tennessee should be undefeated. And a question I want to ask, before you do yours, Jeffrey, and we'll come back to my question. Who's the worst team in the SEC?
The worst team in the SEC?
It's either Kentucky or South Carolina in my book.
And see, you answered my question right there, because when have you ever had to think
I
about that?
wouldn't say South. Yeah, Kentucky. I would say Kentucky. South Carolina is like they like you can get to the brutal schedule, but they're not a they're if you watch them play, they have a good team. They've had some injury
Yes, yes.
issues, and but I would say Kentucky. Kentucky is not as good as South Carolina. Kentucky's probably the worst. Not probably, they are the worst team, and they're but even with that, they're not god awful bad, but they are the worst team in the SEC.
I got another surprise,
Yeah, and
Clemson.
I
I
think
didn't
well, and
think they
maybe
were going to fall off.
But that's
I didn't think Clemson was going to
not
be. I thought they'd been a lot better this year, and they just, man, they really took a nosedive. Will Dabo be there next year at Clemson?
no. I've already
easy.
said look, no, no. I think this is a setup for him to be God. Like I called them losing 3 games before the year started, at least 3 games, and I think this is well, 2 things would have to happen. I think the other one it started off this way. I think everybody there at Clemson, sometimes you wear out your welcome. People need a new voice. He doesn't like the portal. He doesn't like NIL and the people there. You have to do that to be competitive and stay. That's part of the reason why you see the dip and the fall off. And but if Alabama loses if they lose like 3-4 games, and it may not be this year, he may leave, sit out a year. I think because that's the place he would end up going. I think that he's going to be out of Clemson and he's going to end up back in Alabama. He wasn't going to follow. He was smart enough not to follow Nick Saban. He wouldn't
Yeah.
don't do that. And he was smart enough not to do that. He can let somebody like DeBoer go in, get that stink on him, get fired, and then the only place he would leave or get fired, like they're not gonna fire him. He'll leave before then, but I think he'll end up at Alabama, the year after next. But I was the other surprise for me, and I was Texas Tech is like well
Oh
Indiana for
yeah.
one. They probably gonna have they have the quarterback pick in the country. He's gonna be the number 1 pick the first quarterback pick, I think, in the draft. But Texas Tech, and what's also they're quietly just plowing along, but they also look at their recruiting and look at what they're doing in the NIL space. They're building something and just off the radar from people. Nobody's paying them any attention, and they're just quietly just plugging along, sneaking up on people. Um, yeah, that's one of the surprises for me. And I think the Texas, I thought they were going to be better, have a better showing. I say that, but I'm not a huge Arch Manning fan. People that talk to me know that. I think they put too much on him too early, and I don't think he's just what they needed him to be at this time. So what I do, one thing I will say about the landscape in college football and what the portal and what NIL has done is the parity. You don't see like maybe you could say Ohio State is like obviously better than everybody else. Maybe I'm not ready to say that just yet, but look at everybody else 2 to 15, 16, 17. There's not a huge difference in the top 20 teams or so. And you can point directly at NIL and the transfer portal for that because it's made some teams weaker, some teams have gotten better, and it's evened out the landscape and the level of play. And I think that's a good thing. And like I said, I won't there's things and points behind that, but I think that's just created a great deal of parity in college football.
And I love it though, man. I do. I'm not
And
gonna say
I
love
love
it
it, man.
because it has changed the whole dynamic, and it makes college football great again. Because when it's so one-sided, it gets boring though. You know what I mean? Everybody always end up saying, they're cheating, they cheating, they cheating, they cheating, they cheating. Now, what are everybody gonna say now? Because guess what? It's an even playing field again
Everybody,
where everybody, but now not necessarily. I mean, when I say even playing field, I say everybody's getting paid now. Now,
yeah,
from what I was told in some situations where when it wasn't like this, there were schools that were getting paid a little bit more, and it's and if you go look at the situation based off what teams were in the top 2, 3 every year, I would say those were the teams that were still under and over the table with super McDonald bags or Ruth Chris bags.
Oh man, yeah. So I definitely agree with you. I think this is
Yes.
it's gonna be interesting in the next couple of years, especially once they get a salary cap and it's true, like everybody, same thing across the board. Then you have to build relationships to recruit. You have to like I think you at that point you have to even recruit harder. You have to develop. You have to do all those things to win at that point because you can't just go out talent people because everybody can get it. Everybody can get talent. So I'm excited about the state of the game and where it's going. So great. So let me ask you guys. So first of all, let me say thank you. I really appreciate you guys jumping on here today. It's old times. Everybody says, it just seems like old times, old conversations. Had a bunch of good talk about Tennessee football, college football. What do you guys want to close out today? Give me one thing you just want to just close this out with today, and then we'll wrap up. I'll start with you,
I've only
Catfish.
got one
I'll go
thing.
from top to bottom.
I only got one thing. I guess I'm super glad to see you doing this, JC. I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you're my friend. I've been able to pick up the phone and call you about personal things multiple times, and you've always listened. You've always taken my call. You're a great man. You are a great Vol, and I think you're going to do some great things, and I appreciate you. That's what I got to say.
Thank you. I
Hey,
appreciate that. Likewise.
hey, man, that's gonna be hard to follow that up, Catfish. Hey, because you're talking about my boy right there. That's my sweet mate right there. You're talking about now. Hey, I call him the judge, the attorney, the reverend, the man that's gonna get you right, no matter what the situation is. Right or wrong, he's always right. No, man, I love that you're doing what you're doing, JC, man, because I'm telling you right now, you just woke me back up, man. I missed this, man. This is something, these four walls close in on you when you're sitting here for so long. And if you got something to do, it makes you open back up, man. You got me smiling again, baby. I'm like, look, okay, JC. I love it, man. I love it, man. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate it. But also I think I told you this. No, I didn't. Maybe I didn't tell you this because Catfish, you may not know. We Worm and I we have a group chat. Well, I'm not gonna say everybody's names right now, but there's a bunch of us. We have a group chat. I'm trying to bring the group chat to life, but it's gonna be the filtered version. We can't bring the uncut version. But yeah, that's one other show that I want to bring to the platform, the group chat live. So I'm working on that to make
You
that
sure
happen.
you want to do
No, I'll
that?
go ahead and
Remember,
tell you something. I'm gonna put
You
the
sure you
pressure.
want to bring our group chat, or are you just talking about group chat in general?
let me
No,
tell you
I'm gonna
something.
bring the
We did
people
a
from the
group
group chat
chat.
on. I'm gonna bring
We kind of did a group chat. It wasn't really a
what
group chat, but we had you, we had Leonard Little, we had Deuce, we
happened.
had Big Cat,
Mhm,
and me all on the
mhm,
show. And I would have given anything to have been recording after the show ended. We were on that thing for 2 hours. Big Cat, me,
yeah.
Deuce, you, we were debating, and it was some of the funniest stuff you've ever heard in your life. And I wish I would have been recording it, but that was similar to that. We had them all up there on the same time in the
So
screen arguing.
you you just named some of the group chat people. Leonard, that's one. Deuce, Cat, Antron Peebles,
Oh
Al's in the
gosh.
group chat. Mercedes. There's a few. Mercedes Hamilton. If we can, I know it's gonna be hard to get everybody on at once. If we can get 3, 4, 5 people on at any given time and just bring some of that to the world, that's what we're gonna do. So it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be something because I tell you, I was sitting there talking to Al the other night, and he was he's watched the show and he's like JC, why are you on there talking like that, man? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you don't be talking like that when we're together. It's like I said, no, I said, Drake. I tried to tell him, I was like, man, I'm talking about other things. We're doing other concepts. He's like, yeah. You know how he is. He's like, nah, man. He's just like, you got to give them some of the like this is the way we actually the way we talk. And I said that's a different setting. I said, but we got that's why I was like, I gotta bring that to where we can so I can give you that. So people can hear that level of conversation and that type of talk. So he gave me some critique, he gave me some motivation to do it. So but then when you say that, you sign up to be on there, you in the group chat. So that means you gotta bring yourself to the table. So that's what I'm gonna use to get him on too. So great stuff, fellas. Hey man,
Man,
again, I thank both of you for joining JCTV for the culture. This is one of my one-off my culture talk, and the culture is college football in this setting. So I appreciate you guys for coming on. You've already signed up for some more projects. I already got to get you guys on here. But hey man, go Vols. Thank y'all for
go
tuning in.
Vols.
Go Vols.